Alrighty, welcome to episode 163 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. In an effort to thwart an inevitable flurry of opportunistic profit-making on the resale of early production Cybertrucks, Tesla added a Cybertruck-only set of clauses in its contract of sale terms and conditions. Under most circumstances, they forbid or restrict new owners from reselling their Cybertruck on the open market within the first 12 months of purchase. Tesla have since removed this clause, but it's unclear at this stage if the clause will return to a Cybertruck-specific sales contract. Fremantle Port appeared much brighter last weekend with the unprecedented arrival of 300 Model Ys, every single one of which was painted in pearl white. Western Australia's WAEV network has further progressed with Synergy's 150 kilowatt Kempower fast DC charger site in Coolgardie now fully commissioned and open to all EVs to use. This brings the total number of stations currently active to 19 out of the final project plan of 49 sites. Tokwa held its annual general meeting last Saturday. At the meeting, Paul Viana and James Maitland were appointed to the committee following the retirement of Rodney Loudon and Stephen Rogers. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was. And welcome everyone to another episode of Ask Us Anything. As is customary, and just usually so I can get a good pregnant pause, if anyone is new and is comfortable in saying hello, please do unmute yourself and say hello.
Hi, my name's Benny Wright. I haven't got a Tesla yet, but I'm just having a look and trying to weigh up pros and cons on different things.
Welcome, Benny, and you are going to find out what it's going to take for us to get you into a Tesla tonight. So, and we've actually had success with other people literally having ordered, they've given up and just placed an order at the end of the program. So yeah, welcome, and we'll definitely go through some of those advantages quite shortly. Alrighty, anyone else that is new that would like to say hello?
Yeah, it's Miro here. Just joined your group here. I've just received a new Tesla on Friday. Tesla
Congratulations, Miro.
Yeah. So yeah, enjoying the experience. Very good.
Fantastic. Well, no doubt you've got some burning questions which we'll answer shortly as well. All right, let's try and go for the trifecta. Is there a third person that would like to unmute and say hello?
Yep, that would be me. My name's Saxon. I've actually joined this meeting a number of times, and I've always joined too late because I have a young daughter who I have to put to bed. So I've been in here about 4 or 5 times, but this is the first time I've actually been here at a time when I can do the introduction. I actually took delivery last Wednesday of a Model Y. So I've spent the week hooking that up and actually hooking it into my home automation, so it only charges at a rate that is compatible with solar, so I'm not importing any energy. So that's actually working really well at the moment.
Fantastic, well, congratulations on your awesome recent purchase. All right, let's go for the quartet. Do we have a fourth person that would like to say hello? Perhaps later.
Push your luck, Harold.
Yeah, I've always got to push it because you don't want to miss anyone out. So anyway, welcome to everyone and thank you for introducing yourselves. Now, just in a little bit of sobering news, the news of last week, I've just got some information on Daniel Wales' funeral and wake, which I'd like to get in at the start of the program because that's when most people on YouTube, that's the section they watch the most. And it will be at Fremantle Cemetery in Palmyra on Tuesday, the 21st of November at 10 a.m. at the West Chapel. That's basically at Fremantle Cemetery. And there will be a wake held at the left bank mezzanine, which is the upstairs section, from 12 to 2:30. So that's the funeral service and wake for the late Daniel Whale. So I just thought I'd get that in early. Alrighty, let's go to questions. So who'd like to start us off?
Hello.
Oh,
Sorry.
go Benny, and then we'll go Jonathan. So Benny, you're first,
Thanks.
then Jonathan.
I've got a boat that I tow with my Ford Falcon at the moment. I took a Tesla Y long range for a test drive, and it's got an incredible amount of power. And I'm sure if I get the tow thing on the back, it would probably pull it, no worries. And at South Perth boat ramp, my Falcon used to lose a bit of traction on the back wheel because it's just rear wheel drive. At least with the all-wheel drive, it'll have 4 wheels pulling. So that shouldn't be the issue. My question is, if it's low tide and the wheels get a little bit wet, I'm worried about salt water near electric motors.
Don't worry. The motors are completely sealed, and the cars. In fact, the entire skin of the car is aluminium. In fact,
Okay.
there's a lot of aluminium components. So again, that's basically immune. As long as you don't dip it into a bath of caustic, you'll be perfectly
No.
okay. And look, like any car, you just hose it off as you would your Falcon. So you know the car will be just as immune from a occasional dip in the water as any other vehicle. So, and you're right with the all-wheel drive from the long-range version of the Model Y, you'll get great traction. And if and when you actually do get the car, there are a few tricks you can do. You can actually put it into off-road mode, which is intended for things like like sand and boat ramps.
And I think there's a slip start function or something along those lines as well.
Yeah, I think the slip start is better for snow and sand, but the off-road mode is great if a wheel breaks traction altogether, like is in the air, and on an uneven boat ramp and unevenly loaded, that can happen. It basically it's equivalent of applying a diff lock effectively to the wheels. So look, you're going to have
wheel lifts. Like on the Falcon, there's no lock diff. It'll just spin, and you're going nowhere. This will semi-lock the diff with a computer, I guess, and give traction.
No, it's synthetic. So what it will do is it'll use the ABS, the brake. It'll apply braking to the spinning wheel to arrest it.
Wow.
And it'll actively adjust the front rear torque split. So if the rears are spinning, it'll push more to the front and vice versa.
Awesome.
So you're basically going to get a very awesome towing vehicle there, Benny.
Another advantage,
like a train, you got no problems.
Yeah, and another advantage, being an electric motor, it has instant torque, so it means the traction control can be more effective because it can react faster without having to wait for the lag of a internal combustion engine.
Yep.
Benny, what's the weight of the boat and the trailer?
About a ton.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
easy.
It's a 5.5 Haynes signature.
I would have thought
it's got a 1,600 kilo limit on towing.
Just
it
well
has
within.
got trailer brakes. But I'm just wondering how the car feels while it's towing. Does it feel like, oh God, I need a heavier car? Because at the moment I'm waiting on a Ford Everest Platinum, but I can pull out of that. The only reason I'm torn between the Model Y and the Platinum, which is a full-on four-wheel drive, is because I've got 15 kilowatts of solar panels on the roof.
Nice.
Internal combustion engine, I'm going to have oil leaks and $80 of diesel each week. So there's all the pluses of an EV if I can make this work. Obviously, my range is going to be cut in half when I'm pulling a boat.
Your power with an AC induction engine will be phenomenal. You won't. The almost the bad thing about towing with electric is it just feels like you don't have anything on it.
What about stability? Like with a smaller car, you really got to drive with the boat on the back. With the heavier Everest, you don't even know you got it on the back. It's just
how heavy is the Everest? Isn't it about 2 ton? Just over 2 ton?
maybe, yeah. And I believe the Model Y is the same weight.
Yeah, the Model Y is just under 2 ton, so you're not far off.
And what's
think
better,
Model
and what's
Y is
even
about
better,
the
Benny, what's even better, Benny, is the fact that the weight of a Model Y, a lot of it is a low center of gravity because of a lot of the weight's in the battery pack,
Yep.
whereas the Everest is a bit higher up. So you actually got more stability and more power. And I think you nailed it when you said that you're not going to have to pay $80 a week in fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So that's a non-trivial amount of money. And don't forget, you're not towing your boat every single day.
No.
So what you've got to consider is what is your best daily driver that can also tow a boat with zero compromises. And between those two cars, there's only one that wins, and that's the Model Y, hands down, literally hands down. Just imagine not going to the petrol station, and with that amount of solar that you've got, and presuming you've got the time to have it dribble into your car during the daytime, then
That's the
you're
issue.
going to have basically free driving.
And speaking of a non-trivial amount of money, I'm not sure if you can see my camera, my phone. I'll try and put it up, but this is a novated lease comparison. Are you able to see that? Or
Oh, we were. Yep. There we go. Just hold it there.
Yep.
Yep.
so you can see the Model Y. It works out to just over $1,100 a month, and the Ford Everest works out to about $1,650 a month, and that's based on a
Just tap it, Pete. Just tap your phone. It's just gone. Yep. There you go.
that's based on an $80,000 salary, which is roughly the average salary in WA. It's based
Yep.
on Western Australia. It's based on a 5-year novated lease, and a novated lease packages everything, including insurance, registration, your electricity or your refueling, your maintenance, servicing, that sort of thing. So on a like-for-like comparison, you can see it's about 60% more expensive. Now, don't forget, this is because of the incentives from the federal government that for EVs that came into effect in July last year. But yeah, it gives you a rough idea.
Yeah. By the time I was looking at the long range, I wanted blue. I wanted the tow bar on, which was another couple of grand, and possibly considering the not the full-on autopilot, but the halfway, the 5,100.
Oh, no. So, Benny, first thing to do, this is critically important. So this is more important than actually placing an order, is if we go to the Tesla's website and you just said you wanted a blue car, now that is all, and trust me, just go off the standard wheels, unless you really, really want the other ones, but just go with the standard wheels for now. Your drive away price is 74,000, right? Do not, and you can go for a black and white interior.
Yeah,
but
black's fine.
do not on any account press add the enhanced autopilot or even full self-driving for that matter at the initial purchase phase, because what that'll do is, if we have a look at the details, see how you've got stamp duty of $4,400, and the subtotal of 68,700. If we go and add enhanced autopilot, what you're doing is you're paying more in stamp duty, because you're paying stamp duty on the enhanced autopilot. So what you do is you obviously place the order for the Tesla, but you do not add those software accessories. And also, by the way, you can't add the tow bar until you've gotten the car anyway, because it's basically a service center installable.
And so the other thing it will do is it will raise your dutiable value above $70,000. So you'll miss out on the $3,500 WA.
No, he won't get it, Pete. He won't get it because he's getting a long range.
Long range. Oh,
long
okay.
range, so,
sorry. You had a rear-wheel drive there. Okay.
But yes, definitely do not select enhanced autopilot until you've purchased the car, and you can do it the day the car arrives and you receive it. You can just sit in your car on your app and say purchase enhanced autopilot, and within a few seconds it will be switched on in your car after your credit card has been debited the $5,000 odd dollars.
Can I also suggest that you use a referral if you haven't done that, if you haven't know of that from the TOCWA website, random referrals. And Harold will explain that if you don't know about it.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So if we flick on to TOCWA's website, and I'm going to have to do this. Oh, yeah. Okay. So if you just go onto the random referral page, so you go tocwa.org.au, random referral, and there's a referral that's just shown up. It's a referral link, and if I hit refresh, it will refresh to another referral. And what you do is you actually purchase the car using that referral link. So you order it using that link. What that will do is it'll give you
$375.
$375 discount to the purchase price of the car, and I think you get enhanced autopilot for a number of months.
For 3 months.
3 months. You'll actually get enhanced autopilot to try for free for 3 months.
And you also get premium connectivity for 6 months, I think, as well.
Oh, connectivity?
Yeah, premium connectivity. That's worth about $60. It's worth about $10 a month. So I think you get for about 6 months from it.
And the critical thing is you have to do that before you order the car. You've got to click on a link. And if you don't have a friend who owns a Tesla, if you do have a friend, simply ask them for their link, and that will get you a discount and a couple of other benefits. It'll also get your friend 10,000 referral points, and your friend could actually then go and purchase for 9,000 points. They could get you a wall connector, which is the home charger, for lack of a better term. So, and you can get that for free, and that's worth $750.
How do I, with the wall charger, I believe you can only just select how many amps are going into your car. Can you actually decide whether it's choosing from solar or the grid with that wall charger?
Yes and no. There's no differentiation between where it comes from, except for the way you've set the car up. So the wall connector, have you got single phase or 3-phase house?
3-phase.
3-phase. So okay. 3-phase you get a little bit less granularity, but on a 3-phase house you can connect it to 11 kilowatts or 16 amps 3-phase, and you can then control using the car controls, or other people use third-party apps such as what's it called? Charge HQ, which costs a number of dollars a month. So that may or may not be worthwhile depending on how much you drive your car. Or you can just manually look. I think you've got 15 kilowatts of solar, so that's actually a fair bit.
10 kilowatt hybrid inverter and
and 15 of panels.
Kilowatt battery.
How many kilowatt battery?
8.2, 7.8 usable.
So you got a Fronius Gen 24?
No, it's forgotten the name of it.
Oh, sorry, never mind. It's okay. I was just reminiscing. So with 10 kilowatts, you can put in 5, 6, 7 kilowatts, and look, you're going to charge your car pretty quickly at that sort of rate. What many people do is just observe your solar panels, and like in summer, you've got plenty of energy. You can just lower the current limit of your car through the app. Through your Tesla app. And so you can take it from 16 amps all the way down to 6 amps 3-phase. And 6 amps 3-phase is only a bit over a couple of kilowatts, 3 kilowatts or something like that, roughly. 3-phase. So you can do that. Other people will suggest, and you would have seen around the traps, people suggesting things like a Zappi. As we've ventilated many times on Ask Us Anything, if you take in consideration the entire cost of the Zappi, including installation, it sort of is north of $3,000. And what that $3,000 represents is a prepayment of your elusive free juice that you were going to get from your solar system. And $3,000 worth of free juice is a fair bit. So, and we've sort of demonstrated that for most people, the rate of return of that, or the number of years required to get it just to break even on that initial investment, is sort of 1 or 2 lifetimes of the car. So really, the simplest is just a Tesla wall connector. It's as your number of EVs in your household will inevitably grow, because everyone that gets one, their significant other will say, well, I want one too. And in fact, you'll be sick of them using a petrol or diesel car anyway, and you will cave in and buy another, whether it's a Tesla or another EV. And with these chargers, you can have them combined together. You can have two in the one house, and they can cooperate so that they don't use more than a certain amount of energy, and many other features. So that's the best way to go.
A wall charger, you can have more than one.
You can connect up to 4. You can daisy chain up to 4 together, as long as you've got Wi-Fi signal in your garage. They'll talk to each other via Wi-Fi and negotiate with each other as to, depending on what limit you've set, or your electrician has set to the power supply going to those units.
Okay.
In short, Benny, the Tesla wall connector is your best value for money charger there is. At $750, it's really good value. And if you can use the 10,000 credits and get it for free, essentially, there's nothing that compares. It's probably arguably the most proven home AC charger, or it's also called a destination charger. It's used at hotels and other public locations around the world. Anything else is, I would argue, inferior if you look at everything, including the cost.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, so excuse me for 2 seconds. I've noticed that Des has very patiently had his hand up. So I better throw to Des.
Thank you very much. I've got
another. Benny, don't worry. We'll get you more questions off you shortly. I just want to see what Des was going to say or ask.
I'll go afterwards because there was someone else. So you go to the next person first. But it was related to what Benny raised.
Cool. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No worries. And Nigel, I see your hand up, but sorry, we had, I think it was Jonathan was.
Yeah, it was
pipped out by Benny. So go, Jonathan.
Very, very briefly, just to say that the Shire of Queredig has taken delivery of a charging station. I've put a photograph. It's still in the box. Put a photograph in the chat. But I just wanted to ask the members, the people in the room, how exciting is it for you to find out there is a charging station 2 hours east of Perth?
Yeah, absolutely. It is great, and I do notice. I'll just share the screen. It's actually an AC unit. It's an Ocular, probably a 22 kilowatt.
That's correct. Yes.
It's a dual tower, so you've got two outlets. So that's great. That's awesome. If you want to do some destination charging, so you want to have a long lunch or something like that, and you want to top up a little bit while you're around town, that's great. These days, to be honest, 5 years ago, that would have been super exciting. Today, what every town needs is fast DC charging. That's where the real money is, as in the bang for bucks. But no, that's awesome. That really is. That's great news, Jonathan. And congratulations to Queredig for having that initiative to do it.
I think we are one of the first towns in the region. I think York doesn't have one yet. I don't think Northam has one. So when it's actually working, I'll come on board again and tell you guys it's actually working.
Fantastic. Brilliant. That's very good. Excellent. Alrighty. So, sorry, anything else, Jonathan, or was that it for that bit?
No, that's cool. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. All right. So let me throw to Des, and then we'll go to Nigel.
Thanks. Just two things. First, the comment about your news thing about the Tesla, the contract thing. You're the first one I've heard say it's to stop, rorting. Everybody else has just commented how bad it is, but you're the first one that made sense.
It is because this happens to a lot of things that are rare, and people will just literally they've placed reservations and just on the chance of getting an early order so they can make a lot of money out of it. The only thing that I'm a little bit disappointed about is that it's going to make it incrementally harder for Munro and Associates to procure a Cybertruck so they can immediately tear it down, which is something that I think we're all looking forward to.
Yeah.
And actually it's a little bit harder now because Corey Steuben, he was basically the 2IC at Munro and Associates, and he's left, I believe, to go to Lucid.
Okay.
So I do recall that the Model S Plaid, or was it the Model Y, it was actually in Corey's name. In fact, he was still the owner of the car. So I'm a little bit concerned that maybe Corey has got a reservation for a Cybertruck, undoubtedly. And I do dare say that Lucid would love to have their hands on one too, so they could tear it down. So, yeah, anyway. So that's the only thing that's going to put an impediment on that. Unless Munro works out a way of saying, well, we're not buying the Cybertruck off you. You're going to gift it to us. It's still yours because we're just going to pull it apart. And how you get compensated for is maybe someone runs a GoFundMe page for the person that donated the Cybertruck, if that happens.
What they could do is lease it from them. They could lease it for 12 months and then buy it at the end of the 12 months.
Yes, they could. And that's all the
I
trickery
thought about that the other day.
And that's the sort of thing that can happen. But look, and in my opinion, I think Tesla ought to willingly sell a car to Munro with the full knowledge it's going to get torn down, because it's going to happen anyway eventually. And let's face it, Tesla could probably have something to learn from Munro's criticism, whether it be positive, negative, or otherwise.
Yeah, always learn. But the other comment I wanted to make, or question I've got, has anyone heard about, remember about a month ago, just over a month ago, there's some Scottish couple that claimed their Tesla went in default after driving through heavy rain and that. Has anybody had any feedback from that or heard any more about that one? So someone in Scotland, they drove in some really heavy rain and the car went in default afterwards. And Tesla told them they have to pay £9,000 or something for a new battery.
I did hear it, but I didn't. I thought that claim wasn't as veracious.
That's
I
what
think
I was
they
wondering
claimed
about,
it was just a puddle, but it was. I think it was a bit more than that. I think it was actually totally flooded.
Yeah.
If that's the story I sort of recall faintly. Yeah. So, like, I think they said, "Oh no, we just went through a puddle," but in the end, it was found out they went into a lake or something, and it was more. I think it was more than just a trivial thing. Having said that, Tesla haven't always covered themselves in glory as far as being receptive to some customers' legitimate complaints, but I think in this case it was overblown by the owners.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Nigel. It's really hard when you say the word grumpy, you got to remember that it's Nigel, but go Nigel.
He called me grumpy. Now, as a follow-on as well to Benny's thing about towing, once you get over a certain weight limit, you're supposed to have electric brakes. Now, is there something you have to put in the car to be able to have electric brakes on your trailer, that you're towing a caravan or something like that? And what is that limit? Does anybody know?
There is a module that you can get, and sorry, it's not a module; it's a plug, or it's a section of it's a plug with some flying leads that you can attach any standard electric brake controller module to, and then you can connect your trailer into the standard harness at the back. The thing is, Nigel, I don't believe the requirement is for electric brakes. The requirement is for effective brakes, and that can be mechanical, electric, whatever. So it could be just a simple, spring mechanism on the drawbar that, engages the brakes automatically once a certain amount of force is exerted on the tongue or in that direction.
Could I just add that, as James has put in the chat, yes, I do have electric brakes, EBC, which is mounted to the trailer. Now, I haven't had to make any change to the wiring on my Model Y at all. I was very concerned about Anderson plugs and other sorts of EVCs. And I was using it over the last couple of days and without any challenges at all. Have to have headlights on just to give enough current for it to work.
Have I lost you all?
We've got you still, Nigel. Okay, so it looks like it's a Bluetooth or it's a wireless connection.
It's Bluetooth to set it up, but after that it operates through the leg brace controller that's on that picture on the top right hand side. You connect your 7-pin, it fits in between and it takes power. So it's actually quite simple to use. I only had to Bluetooth it to make sure I was getting the right program, that you had the right settings, what percentage of effort gets associated with each of the hard brake, gentle brake, that kind of situation. So it was, and the app was on my phone. I didn't have to buy the remote. Just a hint.
Very
Excellent. Good. Thanks very much for that. I was just intrigued because I've got a tow bar fitted on my Model Y, and I was just worried about that. And just before I go, as you know, I'm in Budapest. I'm about to go out sightseeing again. There's quite a few Teslas here and a lot of charging points and a lot of plug-in hybrid taxis.
Yep. So,
interesting.
Next time you get back from Amsterdam, etc., I'm more than happy to come over and have a look at the setup on my trailer, on the camper trailer.
Yep, I'll pop over. Thanks very much.
Nigel, just checked on the website. It says 750 kgs for WA. Queensland says 2,000 kgs. Just as a matter of interest.
Right. Yeah, I knew it was about there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a legal requirement to have them, then if you're towing a 1,400 kilo trailer, you should really put something on.
No, the trailer can't be registered unless it has mechanical brakes on it built in.
The electrical brakes, if the law here says more than 750, you're supposed to have electric brakes, then...
No, 750 is brakes.
750 is brakes. It doesn't,
right.
Said it doesn't specify what type of brakes. It's your choice.
And over 750, it's got to be a braked trailer, and they can have that piston that moves in and out as it brakes. Yeah.
Yep. And in fact, Jason just took the words right out of my mouth when he put in the chat, will it work well with regen braking? Actually, one thing I was thinking, it does. The only thing is your regen isn't as effective because your trailer is mostly braking for itself. So that's a safety feature of the trailer, not wanting to load the car too much. But
so Harold, what I did was I had minimal braking for regen and hard braking. Obviously, you want to be full effort.
Yes, that's exactly right. So you would turn down your braking effort from the trailer, or at least the braking effort proportional to G-force, for sure, because you want the car to try and regenerate most of it, and it can soak up a lot of it. But one thing I was thinking of was someone said, Tim said, no, the regen doesn't trigger the trailer brakes. Well, it will if it's harder. So if you set your trailer brakes to quite sensitive, because trailer brakes, it's either deceleration force or it's triggered on the deflection of the drawbar via a spring compression on the hydraulic version of the brakes. So if you decelerate enough without having your foot on the brake, just using regen, you can actually engage the trailer brakes depending on what sort they are. But one thing that was interesting about regen is whether you could have in-wheel motors in your trailer, and then rather than having brakes, actually have regen, which would be the best of both worlds. But then I guess one thing is we just don't know whether regen braking is considered sufficient. But anyway, sorry, James, I think you had your hand up before.
Well, could I just answer a question that Tim McLennan had?
Oh, go, Steve.
Yep.
Yeah. Because when you go into regen, the car brakes come on, therefore the trailer brakes come on.
Oh, that being the actual brake lights. Yes.
Correct.
Yep. So Tim, you're saying your E6. What's an E6? Sorry, what's that?
It's a BYD.
Oh, BYD. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, you know what? That might just be a software update away from doing that, because the Tesla won't put the brakes on for all regen conditions. So when you're in one pedal driving and you feather the accelerator and you decelerate very gently, it doesn't put the brake lights on. But there is a certain threshold of deceleration where, as Steve said, the brake lights do come on. And I guess with many brake controllers, that will invariably trigger braking of some sort. Yeah. Alrighty. So, okay, I can see Jason's hand. So, James, have you got anything further to add?
Same saying, I've got electro brakes. They operate off the red light coming. So if the brakes come on, so the Tesla's fine, but they also operate under inertia and all those sorts of, and then you can program them in, as you said, so you program them extremely light for braking, so you can get the regen, and heavy for when it's emergency. It detects as emergencies, I'll wax them on pretty tight. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic.
But
All right.
let's cabling.
Yeah, great. That's fantastic. All right, let's throw to Jason.
Hi, guys. First of all, thanks for this amazing community. I've been following this channel for past 1 year, and I've learned heaps of information from here. So now I have some questions regarding on towing as well. I'm looking at the possibility to do a big lap with Tesla Model Y, and looking at two options. Either I tow a camper trailer, or I gotta choose to downsize to just having like a tow hitch mounted cargo box for storage. So because I know that I heard towing a camper trailer will actually reduce the range to 50%. Is that right?
That's about right.
Yeah, they're about
right. It depends. Yes, it depends. So if you're doing a big lap, look, one good piece of news, and I'm just checking to see who we've got on. No. Okay, so one good piece of news is that the WEV network is being built now, as we speak, and the average interval is no more than 200 kilometers between charging locations. So, in fact, this is the most up-to-date map, and the only bit that it's not showing at the moment is Coolgardie. That should be a green lightning bolt. So you will be able to take your car from Kununurra all the way through to Eucla or near Eucla with a trailer, with minimal. The only issue I can see is slightly between Broome and Fitzroy Crossing, because at the moment you've got to go up to Derby. That's 40 kilometres off the turn-off, but you can basically do that in your Model Y. Is it a standard range Model Y or a long range?
Yeah, standard range.
Standard range. Yeah. So look, it does halve your efficiency, but bearing in mind it does exactly the same thing to a petrol or a diesel vehicle. It's just that people just are accustomed to not noticing. You know, they just fill up their tank whenever they need to. Unless you take meticulous notes, I think a lot of, well, actually, I know this for sure. Caravan owners do know what caravans do on their road trips to their Land Cruisers and other vehicles. It slaughters the range of the efficiency, and range for that matter. So the short answer is yes, you can, but you need to look. I would do some long road trips without a caravan of any sort first, just to get road tripping under your belt, because it is a different experience. And you know, you could just do a lap without a caravan at all first time, and then do it with a caravan. Having a box behind that would make very little difference, like a Thule
cargo box,
tow ball mounted cargo box is not going to make a lot of difference in range that you're going to really notice terribly. So really that's not towing anything, that's just dragging something behind you or holding it up behind you. That's camping. Or you're just staying in hotel rooms anyway, and then in that case, why bother carrying the Thorley box?
Yeah, we are looking at camping throughout the trip.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, if you want to do a
yeah.
camping trip, then that's the simplest. It's the one that will be the least taxing on any gaps, because bearing in mind, frustratingly, as good as the WAEV network is, and as good as supercharging and other charging on the eastern seaboard is, if I just show PlugShare, there are a lot of gaps. Now, bearing in mind that everything in Western Australia will be covered by about the middle of next year, don't be fooled by these, which look like fast DC chargers. There are only 20 kilowatt slow DC chargers, except for this one in Kaiguna. Also, don't be fooled by some of these pins because they show charges under the NRMA, which probably won't be installed until 2025. So your challenges will be from, say, Kununurra to Katherine. There's only one place, which is Timber Creek. And in fact, I'll just highlight the plugs briefly here, the extra plugs. So you'll have to slow charge. And then you've got gaps, Timber Creek to Katherine, not a problem. I think off the top of my head, that's not much more than 250 kilometres. The main thing to think about if you are towing a caravan is it's all about speed. So when you've got aerodynamics involved, when you reduce your speed, you'll increase your range. So caravans can only do 100 kilometres an hour anyway, but there's a very good reason why many caravanners do something like about 80, where traffic permits. So speed or reducing speed is your friend when you've got something lumpy that you're dragging behind you. So, yeah, look, I would recommend personally that you do a few long road trips without a caravan.
Yeah.
Just have a tent in the boot of your Model Y with plenty of space, and or get a Thorley storage box and do that before you commit to a camper van.
Jason, how many people are you planning to have in your car?
It's going to be 2 adults, just me and my wife.
Okay. Have you thought about sleeping in the car rather than in a tent?
Yeah, that's one of the options as well. If I were to go for, if I want to go without a camper trailer, so I got to sleep in the car and extra storage with the Thule box at the back.
Yeah, okay. So when Harold and I went around Australia, Harold slept in hotels every night. That was his choice because he's a snob. And I slept in the car every night. I actually really loved it. And I also had a e-scooter with me, plus a spare tire, plus obviously, food and utensils and everything to cook in the caravan parks, etc. And there was plenty of storage, plus all the cables, plus a DC charger. You'd be surprised. I would just do, like Harold said, do a couple of test runs, just without any additional fuelies or, trailers or anything, and just see how much you can actually get into the car. And you'll be surprised if you pack efficiently. And by the way, I had the bed. I didn't want to be putting the bed up and down every night, so I had it there constantly. And if you've got 2 people and you're both sitting in the front seats while you're driving, you can have the bed down, and you should have enough room, because don't forget, in the Model Y you've got 3 plus 2 storage areas. So you've got the 2 sub trunks, to use the American terminology. You've got the frunk, and then you've got the 2 on the side as well, which go fairly deep.
Yeah. I just came back from a road trip. I just drove 1,600 kilometers last week, and with 4 adults and with all the camping gears, and fitted perfectly. It was so amazing. Yeah.
Well, do more of those. For Jason, for a little bit before, and then maybe if you enjoy camping, then get a Thule box, and because a camper trailer is another experience. That's another level of not all the places where you can charge, you can actually drive through. You've got to actually unhitch the camper. So that can be a bit of a pain. You're then slightly restricted where you can sleep. You've got to really sleep mostly at caravan parks, I guess, or whatever. You don't have the comfort of, for example, air conditioning in summer that you would have if you slept in your car, as Pete suggested. Yeah. So, there is another one. There's a product. It's very standard. If you just Google it, they're like car camper tent things where you lift the tailgate, and then it basically it's a sleeve that goes over your tailgate into your car. So it basically exposes your tent to the environment of your car, which means you can get air conditioning via your car into a tent that's mounted on the ground at the back of your car.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
So that's another product you can do. So there's lots of things. I think getting a camper trailer is another step above, but you really should explore all the intermediate steps first, before you make that big step, because you might just not enjoy it as much, and you got storage issues. You got to store it somewhere. You might just enjoy normal camping more initially.
Yeah. Just quickly, Jason, before you go on to your other questions, one other option is a bit like a fuelie. There's one that actually goes behind the car, so that you don't have the aerodynamic drag on having it on top of the roof. There's still a drag involved. It will still lower your efficiency, but by much less than having the box on top of a roof rack on top. So you can get one where you can still open the boot.
Yeah.
And it's about a foot off the rear bumper.
Yeah, that's my second option actually. Yeah.
Jason.
Steve.
On Facebook, I Ruined the Weekend group. I put the statistics about my run to Bunbury on Monday and back today. So there are some screen grabs of efficiency, and I was traveling at 95 kilometers an hour by way of comparison. If you choose to have a look at that, this post.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your posting today. Yeah, thanks for that. And just another question regarding towing. I saw some postings saying that once you put it on the towing mode, you can't run autopilot. Is that true?
That is true. Now, there is something that some people choose to do, which is something that Tesla does not recommend, and no one recommends, and no one in this room will recommend it. But Tesla wisely, you may, for example, put a bike rack on the back of your car, and it might have auxiliary brake and tail lights and indicators because the bikes are blocking the visibility of the back of your car. So they plug into your trailer electrical connector, and then that would ordinarily invoke trailer mode because the car will detect trailer lights and think it's a trailer, but it's not. And the car permits you to actually override trailer mode and tell it that it's not a trailer. So I'm not going to endorse anyone doing that if they actually do have a trailer, because doing so would mean that autopilot could be engaged while driving a trailer.
So that's just intended for bike racks and that?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So because you can turn it off.
So you can turn it off if it has automatically detected a bike rack, but you you should not. It's not recommended that you turn it off if you're actually driving with a trailer.
Yeah, because it's the same situation as having the toolie box at the back. You still need to hook it up to the car for the brake lights.
Yes, and in fact, one good reason for that is that when you reverse, it will turn off the ultrasonic sensors for the back, so they won't scream at you every time you go into reverse. So it's a great feature that it actually detects a trailer or an accessory at the back of the vehicle.
Yeah. So another question I would like to ask, which is how capable is Tesla going through all the corrugated road in the national parks and stuff like that, the gravel roads?
There's a section of gravel road. In fact, I'm going to welcome Charles, who actually has just completed a rather large road trip all the way to Perth from Tassie, and he didn't even get wet across the Bass Strait. And there's a bottom section of Tassie which is Cockle Creek, and I forget how many kilometres. It's dozens of kilometres of dirt road, with potholes, and the car handles it very well. And the short answer is don't worry about it. If you've got the standard wheels, which are the Gemini wheels,
that's right,
it'll be fine. I had the misfortune of going over some shocking eastern seaboard roads, or actually they're kind of like in the inland part of New South Wales going north, and it was so bad I actually thought I exploded a couple of tyres several times. So yes, the car can handle it very well.
Jason,
it's designed for it.
There was a Tesla Model 3 that competed in the Sydney to Perth, Perth to Sydney Marathon. And, you know, about more than 50% of that was off-road. And, yeah, that was a Model 3 performance. It did have slightly higher suspension. But, yeah.
That was a rally race, right?
Yes. Rally
race. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. There was long sections along the rabbit-proof fence and all that. So, yeah, and, yeah, it did. It did without issues. So
the reason I asked that is because last week I had a bad experience at down south. There was a small little stone that caught in between the brick roto and the housing. I couldn't identify it at first, but I got to check it a couple of times and shake it off, and then finally the small stones came out and it was fine. So
yeah, but that can happen on bitumen as well. So one thing you can do is try and reverse, and then sort of hit the brakes, you know, or pump the brakes. You know, you can move the steering wheel left and right. You can try, you know, all sorts of things. But yeah, it can happen in any car. But yeah, that's happened to me in my performance about 18 months ago as well. Couldn't shake it out for about 10 minutes, but then, you know, when it dropped out, it was a great feeling.
Right. And Jason, that section of Cockle Creek that I was talking about, this is what it did to my car. So, because it was slightly wet as well. So, you know, and that's just one direction. So it got twice as dirty on the reverse path.
Looks like your front wheels are big rear wheels in that photo, Harold.
So say again?
Looks like your front wheels are bigger than your rear.
No, it's just an optical illusion. Yeah, it's just. I think because the wheel arch is slightly higher, the clearance at the back.
Yeah. But did you bring a spare wheel for that trip?
Yes, I did. Yes, and in fact, I'm doing another one starting tomorrow, and I've got the same spare wheel in the back.
Do you reckon I should prepare a spare wheel for a big lap?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Take it with you. Because. Don't worry about going down south. The worst that happens is you put the car on the side of the road for a little bit. If you leave the car on the side of the road in the Kimberley, in the Northern Territory, and in parts of Western Queensland, when you come back to it, it won't be the same car that you left.
It'd be similar to taking it to Munro's for a teardown.
Yeah, leave a little GoPro in a corner somewhere with a big battery, and you'll get some great footage. You might even be able to earn back your money of the car on YouTube, you know, if you get monetization or something.
Great
so
idea.
Yeah, do take a spare. Do absolutely take a spare.
Club. If you're a financial member.
Oh yes, and you can actually borrow spares. A big lap, it depends on the length of your lap. If you're doing a slow lap, like a month or something, it'll depend on availability. But look, my guess is you're not going to do a lap anytime very, very soon. And in fact, the prime lap season, in my personal opinion, is just before. It's about now. You want to do it before the monsoon hits, because then you've got issues with potential flooding across roads. You've also got bushfire problems as well. You know, January is cyclone season. February, you're just kind of clearing that. But then you start losing daylight hours. So it just depends. If you're a grey nomad doing a slow lap, then yeah, do it whenever you want. Do it in winter or whenever. But
having the spare tires is also another consideration for the space. whether I need a camper trailer or just like a toolie box. Yeah.
You can have it just behind your wheel, and sorry, you can have the wheel just behind your seat, between the front and the rear seats. That's where I had mine.
Okay.
And I just, the way I slept, I actually slept with my head on top of it, so it was sort of on an angle.
Oh, it fits well there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we used the what are they called, Harold? The universal.
It was like a
spare-
memory foam. It's not the Dram case, but it was it cost several $100s, I think, and it was like just a sectional foam memory mattress that it was in 3 strips. This is not precisely this one, I don't think, but it basically is memory foam, 3 strips, and you sort of like bundle it into like a duffel bag. It all fits into like a duffel bag. So as Peter suggested, you could effectively make the bed and then just fold up the rear seats if you wanted to, so you could have more storage. You could tuck your spare tire behind the passenger seat, between the back of the passenger seat and the front of the back seats, effectively. And then, depending on the height of each of you or whatever, if it still got in the way, you could just move it. You could just take it outside or chuck it out or whatever. You sort of feel out how you're going to go with it.
And recommend a full-size spare wheel?
Yes.
No, just oh, okay. Yeah, well, you can. Yeah, if you go full size, or you can just go the skinny spare that something like modern spares do.
Well, so yes, so I think both Harold and I actually gave the same answer. So I was referring to the modern spare, which actually is a full-size spare as far as the circumference of the wheel is concerned. It's just a little bit skinnier, so it takes a little bit less. But yeah, the great thing with that modern spare is, do you remember, Harold, the speed limit that it's rated to? It's fairly good. It was fairly good.
80 k's an hour. I thought most skinny spares are about 80, but I could be wrong.
Modern spare is 110.
Yeah, I was going to say. I thought it was over 100. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Well, there you go.
So, so it's full size as far as the circumference of the wheel is concerned, but just a little bit skinnier. But the best advice I can give you is see if you can get Harold's phone number and Robin Dean's phone number. They were on my fast dial when I did my lap, and those were the 2 best accessories I could have ever hoped for. So yeah, those 2 phone numbers were worth their weight in gold. So
it's more important than 911.
Yeah.
The numbers in the chat.
Sorry, guys. Just to does the car come? I haven't seen them. Does it come with a tire lever and like the Kia to actually change the tire? No. So
the car as new does not. No, there's no spare. It doesn't come off a spare, so therefore there's no.
Yeah, no gear.
Logical. Yeah, no.
I thought it was
logical.
hidden somewhere. Knowing Tesla would be hidden away somewhere nice and neat, but yeah, okay. Thanks.
There's also, if you can, obviously take a tire repair kit with you. They're fairly light and small, but just 2 bits of advice for those kits. So the 4-wheel drive one that's got a thicker handle, because the thinner handle,
I have that.
hard to force that in, and the thinner handles will just dig into your hand, and it's going to be painful. And the second advice is they don't come with pliers. So if you do have a nail or a screw, you need something to be able to take it out with. So yeah, make sure you pack some pliers in with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
thank you so much.
Maybe take some goo with you as well. It'll probably ruin your tire, but it might, a pump obviously as well, and and you need to get obviously a jack that's low enough to be able to slide under the car, so that you can lift it and change out the tire. But with the modern spare, it comes with most of that included, that's one of the options.
Okay.
And one last, sorry, I'll get to you, Steve, in 2 seconds. One very important thing, and this applies to anyone with a car that's done more than, say, 30,000 kilometres, particularly model 3 and Y, is check your tyres.
Inside as well.
most people. So this is one of 4 of my tyres. This photo was taken on Saturday afternoon, and I looked at all my other 4. I was actually rotating the tyres front to back, and every single one of my 4 tyres was just like this. This is the inside of the rim. So this is the part, and those things there are actually the ends of the belt sticking out like comb teeth that have already been worn down past the belts. But you'll notice on the wears, the actual wear bars are fully intact. So what I would do is I'd run my hands from the outside, which is on the right-hand side, and I just feel in the groove here and feel in this groove and feel in that groove, and everything was okay. I could feel plenty of meat. I thought, oh, these tyres are fine. And it wasn't until I took them off that I actually saw that. That is not the sort of thing you want to find out when you're in the middle of a road trip.
Has Richard Lexton experienced up? Where
yes.
was he? Yeah.
Well, I think it was Carnarvon, but Rob Dean met him at Billabong Homestead Roadhouse with 2 spare tyres that John Edwards had lent him. So Rob had to do a 2-day trip, or 2-day return trip, to basically rescue Richard Laxton. So do check the extreme inside shoulder. So don't even bother feeling for these grooves, because as you can see, they're perfectly intact. It's on the very, very, very edge. And it's on the inside.
What was the cause? Any idea?
Yeah, my wheel alignment was out on front and back. It had excessive toe. But I don't know whether it was from day one or whether it slowly went out or whatever. So if you're road tripping, do check your tyres once they've done more than, say, about 30,000 odd kilometres. These tyres had done 40,000. This is at 40,000.
When I got my Motor Y brand new, the alignment is actually out. I have to send in for service to check or fix the alignment.
Yeah, right. Okay, well that's a good thing that you did that. But just keep an eye on it. Maybe just for everyone's sake, just monitor every now and then, sporadically, just the very furthest inside of your tyre, the tyre that you see the least and feel the least. All right, I'm not sure. I'll let James and Steve work out who it was that was first. So,
James.
Sorry, I'll go, James.
Jason, he sounds like he's doing the right thing, but practice your camping. I put a video up there of the stuff we take for a week's camping, which fits inside of the Tesla. But from all of our camping that we do, the longer you'd go, the less you need. If you're going for a week, you might take everything, including the kitchen sink. But if you're going for half a year around Australia, you can get away with very little. You get very good at what you actually need. So practice, practice, practice. When you have a look at that video I put in, you can see how much you can fit in.
Thanks, James.
Is it a YouTube video, James?
Put it straight in there.
We got to download.
It's after the photograph of the boot of my car.
Okay, sorry, I'm just going to... Oh, no. Oh, that's the trailer. Oh, got it. Okay. All right, No, that's just a single image, James.
Down another one. You'll have to download it.
There's a modern spares. There's a modern spare thing.
Go up.
No, it's not jumping out at me, James.
A black one with a trailer is 2 above that. Look for the black Model Y with a camper trailer and go up 2.
Okay. And there's above that.
Yep.
Oh, is it your tent? No, it's your tent. Oh, here we go. Right, yeah. No, that's not it. Oh, can you send it again? Oh, here we go. YouTube. Got it.
Yeah.
Finally. Sorry about that. No, that's not it either.
No.
That's the thing that drives itself.
Yeah. But anyway, the video's in there for Jason to have a look at. That's going away, and that you can fit so much in, but it's setting up. We found, we went to Darwin, we've been everywhere. The longer you go, you can get away with really little. Jason, you can get really good at setting up your tent. And you see people that do it all the time. They just have two swags and a box of food, IGAs everywhere. So pare it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, all right. Steve, go.
So if you were to get a full-size spare wheel for the Model Y, the back is wider than the front, correct? So if you're going to get a spare, you'd get the front. Aren't they different?
No. So if you've got the Gemini wheels, so if you've got a standard range Model Y,
okay.
Actually, I think the only ones that are offset are the Uber turbines on the Performance.
Okay, I just remember a discussion months ago on that.
No, so the Geminis are absolutely symmetrical. They're 255, 45,
19, 18.
19 inch, because I just bought 4 of them.
Of course.
So
what did you get? What did you go for, Harold? What tires?
Oh, I went for the Hankook Ion AS whatevers. They are a new compound tire. The great thing I love about them, compared to the Ventus, the Hankook Ventus, which I'm led to believe by the rep at Hankook who I met at the EVA EV Expo, the Ventus were Tesla's standard fitment for, well, at least I know for Model X's, Model Ys. He said that the Ions are the current fitment. So whether it's this shipment of all the Penguin Model Ys, well, I wouldn't call them Penguins, they're all white, and some are white and white, but those ones may or may not have the Ions, but apparently the current builds now do. So it's the new standard fitment. The great thing I love about it is the Ventus had a treadwear index of 380 or 90, and the Ions have a treadwear index of 600. So they should last a lot longer.
How much were they, Harold?
They cost me $550 on a very quick purchase.
What, for all 4?
No, each.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No, each.
That's a very silly question.
And then it was $2,300 for the lot, including front and back wheel alignment.
Wow. With Jack's tyres in Kwinana?
No, Claremont Tyre Power.
Oh, yeah, right. That's the one I use. Yeah, right. No, he's really good in there. Scott, is it?
No, Scott's gone. No, different bloke. But look, I just went there because I'm familiar with the place. They've had my ex, your ex, our ex,
the X
several times. The X, the Model X, and
that's not Mrs.'s, is it?
No, that's right. That's exactly right. But yeah, so I'm going to take them on I'm going to put 13,500 Ks on them in the next 12 sleeps. So that'll be a great way to find, and Rob Dean's lent me his treadwear measuring doodad. So I'll find out what sort of treadwear I get after, say, roughly 15,000 Ks. So it should be interesting.
They also have a kilometre rating on them, like warranty.
They do. They did spruik. Ant, can you remember what it was? Is it a 2-year guarantee or a?
I thought it was
on the Ion,
distance.
No, I don't remember what they are.
There is some sort of guarantee on it, but I don't know whether it was time, on the basis that time represented a distance, like an average distance, or if it was just absolute distance. But look, now I know my car is perfectly aligned. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. Because
what sort of
Des.
did you expect out of tyres?
Oh, look, I'm not hard on tyres, so I expect at least 60. I think I could have gotten on the tyre that was stripped out. I could have probably gotten at least another 10,000 Ks minimum, and that would have taken it to 50. And I'd be happy with 60. I'd be very happy with 60, I think.
I just replaced all 4 of my Model Y tyres. And yeah, I did it just, I think it was about 65,000 K. So Yeah, and they were the original Hankooks as well. Yeah. But yeah, Tesla recommends doing a tire rotation every 10,000 kilometers. And if you do a wheel alignment at that time, if it needs it, then you'll get a lot more out of your tires. There are guys like Rob Dean, who's got like 80, 90,000 kilometers out of his tires on his Model S.
Found the fly, but it doesn't mention distance or time.
I do recall at the EVA EV Expo there was mention of some sort of range or something guarantee. There was
Well, the guy said the same thing.
Yeah.
Usually you'll find that in the fine print it says that you need to have your tires rotated and aligned.
And
yeah, probably at every 10,000 or every 15,000, something like that. Hey, Harold, should we get at some point to the gentleman who was looking at buying a Tesla? Was that
yes. Let's just flush Steve out and.
Right. Are you ready? Because I need expertise on this one, not just general talk. When I was coming back from Bunbury today, yes, I was towing. I did the navigation on because it's usually very reliable to tell me how much I'm going to arrive with. When I drove to Bunbury on Monday, it was saying after it recalculated because of the extra towing, it said get there with 42%, and I got to Bunbury with 42%, hunky-dory. So leaving Bunbury this morning to come back here, it was started off and then it went down to 0. And you must charge in order to continue. I'm thinking this is absolute rubbish. It's only 132 kilometers. I've done this only 2 days before. The conditions are all the same. What is going on? I brought up the trip page and it showed me that I was only 302 watt hours per kilometer or something like that, which is, better than on the way south. The battery percentage showing on the top of the screen was in the 40s. And when I got home, and I have put this on Tokwa's Facebook page, all the details with photos, parked out the front, it says you've got 0 distance to go. You have nothing left. You will have nothing left when you get there. However, on the top of there, it's saying I've got 47% left in the battery. I've never seen the calculations for the navigation when you give it a destination. I've never seen it wrong like that. So
I had a similar thing. I was coming from Broome or something, and I think I charged at Northampton, and as I was coming down towards Geraldton, I navigated to Lancelin to see if I could make it, and I only charged just enough at Northampton to make it to Geraldton. So I was going to be almost empty at Geraldton, and yet it said that I was going to make it 300 and something. I had 100 Ks in the battery, and it said I would make it to Lancelin, which was 330 Ks away, with 20% battery, which is insane. That was going the opposite direction. It was wildly over optimistic. What I inferred that my car did was because I was going downhill, it thought the efficiency was so extraordinarily high for that short period of time that it used that as the basis to project forward 300 kilometers. Now, perhaps what your car was doing is somehow it had latched onto a period of very poor efficiency, and it just, rather than updating it as you are driving, it glitched and it was just maintaining an extraordinarily poor efficiency and projecting that forward. So,
and I'm sure it had nothing to do with doing a beta test on turning off trailer mode to see how AutoSteve might work in a perfect world.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry. You thought about that, but then you thought better of it. It would not. That would not have had any influence whatsoever because I wasn't towing a trailer when mine glitched. So the the trip meter thing, you've got to apply a common sense factor, which you did, Steve, because you knew that you were going to make it regardless of its yelling at you. And on the other hand, I knew that it was a folly for it to suggest I could make it to Lancelin from just a few Ks out of Geraldton when I had very little left. So
it's after driving to Brisbane a few times and up to Broome, you do distance and you can work out what's right and what's not. And when I was getting this squiffy one, if I was inexperienced, I may have panicked. I might have pulled over and then start and call and Tesla and RSC saying, what the hell's going on? And would have ruined my day.
So a very good indication is look at your battery percentage, but the most useful thing is the battery kilometers, because that is a true it's a true proportion of how much range you have left. You'll very rarely get the range that it says on your battery. So if, for example, I do know from memory, a brand new Model Y standard range at 100% will show approximately 430 kilometers of range. And if you're driving around the freeway, you will get 430 kilometers of range many times. But if you're driving on a chip seal road, you'll get more like 350 kilometers or a bit less at the speed limit. So, but nonetheless, that gives you a very good figure of merit of reality. So if the battery says it's got 200 kilometers left and you've got 150 kilometers to drive, chances are you're going to make it.
Yep, I was using the trip average, and I knew that a percentage times that was going to give me more than enough. But it was unsettling. I've got to tell the truth. I was sort of not happy with that.
Well, that's the classic range anxiety, and this is something I've got a bit of advice for people like any state or federal politician. When they talk about things like they're introducing fast DC chargers into the regions, the purpose of those fast DC chargers is not to alleviate range anxiety. Because I've got to tell you, you cannot have range anxiety when there are no chargers to use, because you just won't be driving there. So please don't refer to that as range anxiety. It is providing equitable access to EV owners by putting in fast DC chargers. The range anxiety still comes about if you haven't topped up enough and you're in a hurry, or you just didn't bother, and then you sort of see your range dropping off and then you get a bit nervous. But then, I mean, hey, how many of us when we were younger and stupider stretched our petrol tanks well beyond the red light, and
how many people have done the walk of shame?
Yes, but I've done the not the stall, but the coast of triumph, which was my engine cut out and I coasted to the Bowser and lined up perfectly.
Repeat that one.
That's why you have a dad. It's dad, I've run out of fuel.
I've run out of fuel in every fossil fuel vehicle I've ever owned. Never enough.
Just quickly on Steve's point, Tesla has now revealed all the things that it takes into account when it does its range calculation. And I've got the list here. So it takes into account the wind speed and the wind direction, the elevation or the grade of the road, traffic speed, the average acceleration and deacceleration during the trip, ambient temperature, humidity and pressure, solar load and cloud cover, initial battery percentage, initial battery temperature, gross combined vehicle weight, rolling resistance, aerodynamic drag coefficient, HVAC consumption, vehicle-specific energy consumption like a bike rack or similar accessories like a fuelie, and battery preconditioning. So a pretty comprehensive list.
And they still got it wrong.
Well, they get it pretty right 99.9% of the time, I would argue.
And that was my thought. It's almost always right. Even when you start towing, you can just watch it recalculate. For example, leaving for Bunbury on Monday morning, it said I'll get there with 58%. And then I watched it go down and settle at 42 after about 50 kilometers when it had worked out exactly all those drags you were just talking about. And it was right all the way to Bunbury. It's went to 42, said that's going to be your answer. And what's that? 80 kilometers later, when I stopped in Bunbury, it was 42%.
Steve, I've had the experience of what I'd consider probably the world's best range calculator, which is in the Tesla, versus probably one of the world's worst, which is on my scooter, which I would presume only takes one factor into calculation, and that's the battery voltage. Because if I use regen brakes, all of a sudden I've got 80 or 90%. And then if I hit the accelerator uphill, all of a sudden I've got 50 or 60%. And then I hit regen brakes again, and I'm back to 80 or 90%. So, it's very good.
I agree.
How many of us
normally.
relied on the petrol gauge on a normal internal combustion engine? They never were right.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Now,
right,
I'd
Mark.
like to welcome Sandra Giri. Yes, here we go. Who is Synergy's, I mean, she needs no introduction, but she is Synergy's design and discovery practitioner. I think that's right. And she's going to very kindly give us a very brief update on the WA EV network.
Yeah, thanks, Harold. I'm sorry, I'm super late, so apologies for that. Most of you will have seen that yesterday we managed to have Coolgardie going live. So that's number 12 station in the Swiss. So we are over the midline now, so we are very excited about this. So now you can go to Kalgoorlie very easily because now you have Merredin, Southern Cross and Coolgardie. So really happy with that. Next one for Synergy before Christmas will be Jaramangup that we are hoping to have one 2024.
Sorry,
So
Sandra,
we
I think you just broke up then. We couldn't hear you. Sorry, can you just say that sentence again about, are you sure it's Jaramungup or do you mean Ravensthorpe?
Yeah, no, I wish it would be Ravensthorpe.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so sorry,
no,
say it again. You got very
Ravensthorpe.
bad internet, so you're breaking up badly.
Yeah, let me go on my hotspot. It will be better. Give me a second so that you guys can hear me properly.
Yeah, let's try that.
Yeah, should be a bit better on my hotspot. Apologies. My internet is shocking. So yeah, Jaramangup. We are hoping to have Jaramangup going live in December.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, and every other site in the Swiss. So in the Swiss, they are the one in the darker blue part of the map here, which are looked after by Synergy, and all the other sites will be done by the end of Q1 2024. So we have started already civil works in Hayden this week, so it went really well. It's still going well. We should finish by the end of this week. We are starting Brockton just after. Ravensthorpe is already all good to go, just waiting for Western Power. So it's all good to go, I think, since the 9th of October. So we are just waiting for Western Power, and it seems that it will happen next year. Kojonup, we are hoping to start the civil works Q1 next year. And Margaret River and Kalgoorlie, we are hoping to start the civil works in December. And Bunbury, nearly everything is done already as well. So it's going well.
And Kalbarri, sorry, Sandra, that's the last one.
Yeah, so
at the
Kalbarri
top.
and Northam are a bit further. The reason why is because Northam, it's because the LGA is doing a massive car park. They are redoing all the area and so on. So it seems that they won't be done before at least March. So it will be, I think Northam will be really probably one of the latest that we will do. And Kalbarri, we had to change the location. So we started back from zero kind of thing. So it's now going well. DA is done, license is signed, everything is going well, but we won't start the civil works and so on until Q1 next year.
Sandra, if you had to provide your best guesstimate for Hayden being finished, do you think it might be January or even December?
To be honest, like at the moment, with the conversation I had with Western Power yesterday, it seems that except Jaramangup, I don't think we will be able to have anything operational by the end of this year, except Jaramangup. But we are pushing, Synergy are pushing all we can to do as much civil works and things like that before Christmas. So that then in January and February and so on, if Western Power can find some contractors and do their work, then, you know, it will come quite quickly. So I'm pretty confident for Hayden and Brockton as well, by the way, because we are gonna do the civil works, everything goes well. So it shouldn't be complicated site either, to be honest with you. So I'm not forecasting any delay in this site. Kalgoorlie can be quite tricky with the civil works because maybe we are going to find some rocks. Just never know. In some parts, it's always a bit more tricky than in some others. So you never. It's a bit like surgery. You never know until you open the body.
So Sandra, if you find a gold-coloured rock, like it glints a little bit, just throw it my way. I'll look after it for you. Don't worry. I'll get rid of it. I'll bring a trailer and, you know, I'll sort it out for you.
I'm sure it's brass, but we'll take care of it for you.
You guys are too kind.
Sandra,
what about the 4 over the
Tuesday you
Nullarbor?
mentioned,
So hang on, Mark. Ant, so go, Ant.
Sandra, you mentioned that it's possible that some of the 7 kilowatt AC charge points might increase in capacity.
Yeah, so that was the other news. Before I jump on this news, I wanted to give you a bit of an update regarding Horizon Power. So that's the information that Horizon Power gave me yesterday. And it seems that they are going to have 5 sites operational by the end of the year, being in no specific order because we never know. So I'm not going to give any specific order. We were supposed to have Northman just after the EV Expo and it's still not on. So, but I believe that all these sites will be operational by the end of the year, which are Warmun, completely on the north, south of Kununurra. You can see up there. Do you say Warmun? Warman?
Warman, yep.
Warman, there you go. Warman, Halls Creek, Derby. And then we go a bit south with Overlander, which is just south of Carnarvon, thank you, and Northman, which is on the way to Esperance. So Northman will be a good one to have as well because it will really close the loop with our site to go to Esperance and so on. So hopefully it will happen sooner than later so that for Christmas holidays, people who get south and so on will be much easier. Overlander will be really good as well. So they start really to close the gap, which is fantastic. They are doing a lot of work at once. So I think it will just like give much quicker than us. So soon I think we are going to be at the same amount of sites operational, which is really good, really great news.
So Sandra, I can confirm that Warman and and Halls Creek, they will be operational Saturday. Because I'm passing through to check them. So as soon as I've taken my car through, they're going to leave the pins open. So then that will be on Saturday, Warman and Halls Creek.
That will be really good.
What about the 4 over the Nullarbor? When are those due?
This one, they will be done completely at the end, like because it came later on in the project. The minister gave Horizon Power a bit more time to do them. So from memory, and I think Horizon Power always planned to do this one at the latest, so last, and I believe it has to be done before June 2024. So this 4 will be done at the end.
What about the 5 that are going up to Port Hedland? along the Goldfields Highway.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I've actually got a question and a response to that. So 2 seconds. So what you're referring to, Pete, is the charges up the Great Northern Highway.
Yes, I know it's coming.
So there was a question that let me just put it up here. The Honourable Colin de Grusa posed as a question with notice. And the question stated, does the state government plan to install EV charging stations along the Great Northern Highway between Perth and Port Hedland? And the answer is that on the 4th of November, the Minister for Energy announced round 2 of the Charge Up grant program, providing grants for local governments, not-for-profits and small to medium enterprises to install EV charging infrastructure.
Sorry, but that was not the question.
Correct. This is the answer. The answer is the question was, along Great Northern Highway, yeah. Well, they answered it the long way, saying there is a route between Perth and Port Hedland along the Indian Ocean Drive and Northwest Coastal Highway, and they said that as far as they're concerned, the Charge Up program is good enough to do this. The organisations located along the Great Northern Highway between Perth and Port Hedland are eligible for these grants. That's not entirely true. Which can support public EV fast charging installations along this route. It's not good enough because the problem with having local governments, such as has happened in Dalwallinu recently, which is very commendable. Dalwallinu did a great thing in putting a 50 kilowatt RTM tritium at their own expense. But as we've learnt with the local government authority of Coburn Central, or Coburn, and Kojonup, and Collie, and Katanning, when a local government authority has a charger, it's an albatross around their neck because they really make no money out of it, and it just is a black hole that fills up with money as it gets vandalised, breaks down, and whatever. To have a proper service, as Synergy and Horizon Power are delivering along the WAEV network, that's what needs to happen on the Great Northern Highway. The Charge Up program, as admirable as it is, it has limitations and it's not a consistent level of service across a whole network. And that's what the Great Northern Highway deserves.
And it does have a specific preference for chargers that do one of 3 things between 5 and 9 p.m. And that's either reduce the charge rate or turn off altogether or increase the tariff. Absolutely nothing wrong with increasing the tariff. Highly support that option. But as Rob Dean put up on Twitter, big red marks against the other 2 options. So what's the point of having a charger that you can't use between 5 and 9 p.m.? Most people do it traveling across the country. That's the time that they, that's probably the most important time of the day when they do recharge.
And I think the Charge Up program is about $6.5 million. It would cost less to deliver the entire length of the Great Northern Highway. It would cost less than $5 million. And I can put my hand on my heart and say, if they simply took 5 of the $6.5 million and spent it directly on a WAEV network extension, let's call it phase 3 or 1C, that's a much better use of our taxpayers' money.
Well, I managed to get a word in with the Energy Minister at the EV Expo, Bill Johnson, and I asked him that question. I said, look, be less than $5 million. And he said, well, $5 million is a lot of money. And I said, yes, it is, but it is in the realms of an individual to fund. So for a state government, it's relatively not a large sum of money. But to put it into perspective, there's 137 councils around WA, and they spend $20 million a year, some of them, just on landscaping alone. And that's per year. This is critical public infrastructure, which will last 5 to 15 years for the whole public of the whole of WA to use. So his response to that was, well, the councils can do it then. But I said, well, this is not for local government to be doing. This is critical public infrastructure. This is exactly the role of the role of state government to be doing. So yeah, his response to that was that it's a lot of money, and it has to come from somewhere. What if we took it out of education or what have you? And I said, well, I'm not here to be doing your job for you, but one on-ramp onto a freeway costs $20 to $30 million. So $5 million, relatively speaking, is not that much, and I'm sure it can be found. His other option was, well, what if we just get rid of the charge-up program instead?
Do it in a heartbeat.
And I said, there was other people there that heard it and they weren't too impressed with my response. But I said, look, it's not in my best interest either, but it's in the best interest of, it would be in the best long-term interest of the EV public in WA. So please do. Please get rid of charge up and do Perth to Port Hedland along the Great Northern Highway instead.
Absolutely. And we won't get Sandra to comment on that because she basically works for a government instrumentality. So there'll be no comments from Sandra at all.
There will be no comment anyway.
And so just one last thing. He finished the conversation by saying, I'm not saying no. So
yes, and he said the same thing to me when I spoke to him in Esperance as well, and at the EV Expo. He said he wasn't saying no. And I actually reminded him that a perfect opportunity to announce this extension is at the halfway point when there are 25 stations completed on the WAEV network, and he will come in and announce, that we're at the halfway point. What better twist to that announcement would be to say, we've come here to celebrate the halfway point, but actually it's not the halfway point because we've extended it by another 7 stations or 8 stations. And that would be a fantastic opportunity, and all kudos to the Minister for committing to doing that if he does. Now, just while we've got Sandra for a very short time, and she's very generous with her time, and we're very fortunate to have that time, I think you'll recall a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, that Sandra mentioned that, if there are any issues that anyone has with any aspect of the WAEV network, please do email them to waevnetwork@synergy.net.au. And, there could be all sorts of examples. I know there are people that have found out, for example, that at Kings Park, after a certain time of night, it's pitch black dark, and I think, Pete, you mentioned you yourself as a big burly 6 foot something healthy male.
Adjectives there, Harold. Thanks very much.
You actually felt the darkness, so it is very dark. So if there's anyone who is concerned about that or any other issue to do with the WAEV network or any suggestions, please do email waevnetwork@synergy.net.au. And then the team at Synergy can address any of those concerns or even suggestions. So please do that. And I think, Sandra, you were maybe, if you finished everything else, you were going to talk about the AC charging side, perhaps.
Yeah, there is 2 things that I just wanted to mention. So you were talking about the halfway point with the announcement of the 5 additional from Horizon Power and Jeremy Mangup on our side. We will reach out the 25 sites out of 49. So we will reach out halfway throughout the whole Western Australia state before Christmas. So that's a big milestone, which I will be surprised that we do anything for it, since we are all going to be on holidays and in family for Christmas. I would be very surprised anything's done, but that's super exciting to see. Even 3 months ago, we will not have, not many people will have bet that we can reach this point at this time of the year. So it's very exciting to arrive at midpoint. The second thing is regarding the King's Parks. So if you had any issue like the one you mentioned regarding the light and so on, why the light is switch off at 9:45, I think it is at the moment, and it will be a little bit later with Moonlight Cinema. But the reason why is because King's Park is a very specific location, since it is in King's Park, so they have a lot of different requirements because you are in the middle of the forest and so on, so they want to have as little light as possible to not disturb the fauna, which is very understandable, but I understand as well that the customer experience has to be safe and enjoyable. So if you have, as Harold say, for King's Park or anything else, if you have any comments or things like that you see that are easy to fix kind of thing, then feel free to write to us so that we can provide this feedback. This is not Synergy doing the light and so on. This is the LGA that choose to put the car park and the light and the CCTV, or this is not work. However, we can liaise with the LGA and provide the feedback, but to have an impact, I need some written feedback. With that written feedback, it's only my voice. And since I have a very loud voice, I'm not listened to very often. So I need some backup data, because in front of data, people can't say anything. So it's always very worth for me to get your feedback because you are the customer. So yeah, feel free really to reach out to me directly or wavnetwork@synergy.net.au if you have anything. I saw as well, Jason, in the chat, you talked about Albany, and you're right, it's been nearly a month now that we have one of the two chargers that is down. And it's not too much of an issue since it's two fast chargers. So we still have one fast charger that is working well, but it's been quite a lot of times we have been down already 3 times with different parts, and we still haven't found the issue. So we are investigating it, and at this stage we are having conversation with Kempower and JetCharge to see if it's worth to put it in a workshop and investigate in a workshop, or if we replace it in situ, or if we replace it altogether and do the investigation away from it. So we are in the middle of conversation, obviously, depending on where you see it. If you are a project manager, you are looking more at budget and timeline. If you are a hardware provider, you are more looking at going down there and bringing your contractors to do more works. And if you are like me, you are more looking at the customer lens. So you just want the charger to be replaced so that it works and the customer can use both. So you can understand as well that there is a lot of robust conversation there happening. But it is not as critical for us because the uptime is still good since we have 2 fast chargers in this location. So that's why it hasn't been, I guess, damaging the uptime that we have to reach as per every. So yeah, you're right, Jason, and it's not good enough. I'm hopeful that it will be fixed before Christmas, to be honest with you. Yeah, I can't tell you any more information. I don't have more information, sorry.
But wouldn't that be a warranty issue that they're obliged to fix and fix quickly, or replace? Replace would be the obvious one, and they can take it back and work on it. But they're under an obligation, surely, to get that working and to get off their behind and fix it.
Yeah, I hear you, Peter, and yeah, that's exactly what I said. But it seems that contracts always have little lines in between the big lines. You know,
maybe that's where Synergy's got to use its clout. But it's difficult, I know. But they've got an obligation and they've got warranties to live up to. They should be enabled or.
But they might be able to invoke things like, well, the actual end of the project isn't here yet, so technically, perhaps they may say, well, give us a break. It wasn't slated to actually finish until Q1 next year, and you don't necessarily want to punish. Who knows what the actual source of the problem is? Look, maybe it's Kempower themselves, but of course it's the contractors who are the ones that are paying to send people bodies on the site. And it's a matter of how do you claw that back and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but this is where Kempower should be on the front foot. They shouldn't punish their contractors. I acknowledge that for sure. But if it's the unit and they can't track it down, I think they've got an obligation.
Pretty sure in hindsight, they probably would have thought it might have been cheaper just to rip the box out, take it to the comfort of their depot and play with it there. But that's after doing 3 trips that they probably thought it was going to work the first time.
Yeah, true.
Well, yeah, and the third time we bring some parts that we waited for quite some time. So it was so disappointing last week when they went and didn't work. It was not this part that was faulty. So yeah, we just don't know at this stage. We have no clue why it is not working. So we have tried several things. I'm not an engineer, to be honest with you, so I have no understanding when they chat about it, and I don't really want to understand, to be honest. But I know that they are all working really hard, like JetCharge, Kempower and Synergy are really trying to fix this problem ASAP and to understand what is happening. Because if it's a one-shot ball, like unlucky, but maybe it is not. So we want to make sure as well that we find out what it is exactly, so that if it happens again in the future or whatever, we know exactly what to do and which part we need and how to fix it ASAP. So it's important as well that we follow up on this. Sure. So yeah, that was the update on Albany. And so my last update was quite a good story, actually. At start of the project, for those of you who follow up from the beginning, so 2.5 years ago, when we get the budget to do this, we didn't have enough budget really to have all the bells and whistles. So we decided to use the budget a bit differently. And at start, it was 22 kilowatt AC chargers that were the backup, and the fast charger was 75 kilowatts. And so from long conversation as well with you, Harold, and other experts like Rob and others amongst you, we decided to focus on the fast charger and to put as much power in the fast charger and as less power in the backup chargers, the AC charger, for the same amount of money, obviously. So we managed to have this endorsed by the minister at the time to increase from 75 to 150 the DC chargers and to decrease from 22 kilowatt to 7.6 kilowatt the AC charger. Now that we are getting closer to the end, obviously we have a better view of what are our expenses and our budget and so on. And the great news is that we will be able to upgrade nearly all locations in the Swiss from 7.6 to 22 kilowatts. At this stage, you will notice that Menjimuk and Walpole already been upgraded. Coolgardie is a 22 kilowatt. Went live yesterday. Hayden, Brookton, Kalgoorlie, Kojonup, Northam, and Kalbarri, because they haven't started, will be 22 kilowatts. And we are having a look for next year how we are gonna do all the others. At this stage, there is maybe a couple of them that will probably be too expensive to upgrade. Lensling being one of them. But yeah, we should be able to do Merredin and Sasson Cross next week as well. So it's a great news.
That's brilliant.
That's fantastic. We're running a little bit short in time, but that's fantastic. And you've got to really understand the significance of what happened to this project. Initially, it started out at half the rate of fast DC charging, and by eliminating the 22 kilowatt dual outlets and saying just do one single 7.6, that doubled the bit of the network that counts. That makes it a highway. And now it's just awesome news, Sandra, that now you've actually found some surplus funds and you can actually upgrade those, which means in the end there was no compromise. You got the 22 kilowatts plus the 150, which really counts, and that's just such a great story. One other great story, which actually came out through a little bit of adversity, was, and this is what happens in projects, and it was a perfect timing, was ChargeFox had an outage on many of their fast DC charger locations, including the entirety of the WAEV network. And the great thing was that within a very this happened was it Friday, Sandra? I think it was Friday. And the great thing was, after a short period of time, all of the fast DC chargers were switched to free vend, which again
on the WAV network.
On the WAV network. And I think they were the only ones actually out of the 600, out of the 600 chargers, not all fast DC obviously, but out of the 600, I think it was basically only the WAV network ones that were switched to free vend. And that just highlights the robustness of the system, that even if everything falls over, you won't get stranded. You can still charge your car, and that is really key.
Amazing.
Yeah, there was this issue as well with Optus. I'm sure most of you have heard about it last week. So we had an awesome week last week, but each time, yeah, you went to free vend, so you were not stuck at the charger. You were still able to charge. And so I had a question yesterday during AVA meeting on this. How does that work? How do you use the app? Well, if you don't have a reception, you don't use the app. And you just go, like for those of you who came to the AV Expo, you just plug your car and it charges. You don't need to identify yourself because it's a free vend. So you just plug it and it charges. And that's it. And then when you want to stop, to be able to remove the plug, you just push the button stop on the screen and that's it. So even if you are lost in the middle of nowhere, there is no reception, then it will go automatically in free vend. But if there is power outage, well, once again, we are not magician either. If there's no power, there's no power.
But if there's no power, you can't pump petrol either. So it's everyone's in the same boat then. So it's all the same. Awesome. Thank you very much, Sandra. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, we've got to go in 5 minutes because we've got a new hard limit of 2 hours for the program, so we can put it on Twitter for the video, because I have a hard 2-hour limit. But yeah, thank you very much for that, Sandra. Really appreciate it. Synergy's design and discovery practitioner.
Brilliant.
Love your work, Sandra.
Absolutely brilliant.
Now I'm going to try and squeeze in Chuck before we have to go. Oh, and Ant, you've got your hand up. Can it be really brief, Ant, because we're really running out of time critically?
I don't have my hand up. I was clapping for Sandra.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, apologies. Now, Chuck, obviously, I haven't got time to ask you how great your return trip was, except I do note, and we might cover this maybe next week, is that Wadena is up, and I don't think you got to charge there. So that's a shame. You just missed out.
Yeah, I had just charged at the Putra Hotel. Yeah, just on that day. I think it was. I pulled up at Wadena, and there was a guy with an RAA shirt driving an Ioniq 6, activating it at the very time that I was there. So I think Richard Laxton got to use it the next day.
Yes, he did. And also I note that Streaky Bay is also open, which is fantastic. Yep. And I believe that Kimber is very imminent. I don't know where I saw the quote, but whoever it was that was at Wadena or Woodna, or however you say it, apparently that technician was going to go to Kimber next.
Yeah, very shortly. I saw him charging at Cowal the next day. So he's like zipping backwards and forwards across that part of the state heaps there.
Fantastic.
And the other thing I wanted to mention about the trip was when I was charging on the 22 kilowatt at Majura Pass, a guy came up and said hello to me, Dan from Horizon.
Yes, that was Dan Healy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and he asked you a really weird question. What was that question, Chuck?
Oh, what did he? You must know Harold Murphy or John Edwards. That's right.
Dearie me. You should have said Harold who? Don't know.
He said that they were down checking the consumption of the site as I plugged in, and they saw it go from 40 kilowatts to 60 kilowatts or whatever it was. And they said, right, someone's plugged in. Okay.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, like I said, I'd love to talk more about your trip, Chuck, and a few more charges and stuff. Unfortunately, we'll have to get to that next week. Now, apologies in advance. Next week for me might be very brief because I'm due to be in Brisbane, but we'll just see how we go. And of course, I'll be coming coming to ask us anything from the future, like Chuck is and others. So, so yeah.
Have a brilliant run, Harold. Look after yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's all good. It'll be good.
Sure.
You can just follow me on X, but yeah. Anyway, alrighty. So, Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
Have a awesome and safe hot lap, Harold. But as always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have an awesome week, everyone. Look forward to seeing you next week on Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Sandra.